Your phone lights up with a message that changes the temperature of the room. A criticism, a rejection, news you did not want. For a few seconds, perhaps nothing outside you has changed except a few words on a screen. Yet your mind races ahead, building a future of embarrassment, loss, anger, or fear. You are no longer simply receiving an event. You are being carried by it. This is one of the oldest human problems. We want a steady life, but life refuses to stay still. Other people disappoint us. Plans collapse. Bodies weaken. Opportunities disappear. We work hard and are overlooked. We make careful choices and still face outcomes we never chose. Stoicism begins here, not with coldness or grand speeches, but with a practical question. In a life where so much is unstable, what can actually be trusted? By the end of this, you will understand what Stoicism truly is, why it has been so widely misunderstood, and how its central insight can help you meet pressure without becoming hard, pursue what matters without becoming desperate, and keep your footing when the world around you becomes uncertain. Stoicism is often presented as a personality type, the silent person who never reacts, never cries, never complains, and seems untouched by pain. That picture is false. The ancient Stoics were not trying to turn human beings into stone. They knew grief, fear, love, illness, political danger, exile, poverty, and death. Some of them wrote about these things while living through them. Seneca was one of the wealthiest and most influential men in Rome, yet he lived under the suspicion and volatility of imperial politics. Epictetus began life enslaved. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire during war, plague, betrayal, and personal loss. Their philosophy was not built in perfect conditions. It was tested where most philosophies are tested, in the private mind when events do not obey us. The word Stoic comes from the Stoa Poikiel, the painted porch in Athens where Zeno taught around the early 3rd century before the Common Era. But Stoicism was never mainly a set of abstract ideas for scholars. It was a way of training attention, desire, judgment, and action. Its purpose was to help a person live well, which the Stoics believed meant living with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. That may sound noble, but distant. Yet every day you are already practicing some philosophy, whether you call it that or not. When someone insults you, you may believe their opinion defines you. When your plans fail, you may conclude that the day is ruined. When you see someone else succeeding, you may treat their life as evidence that yours is behind. These are not merely feelings. They are judgments about what matters, what is good, and what makes a life worthwhile. Stoicism asks you to examine those judgments before they begin directing your life. The core Stoic insight is simple enough to state, and difficult enough to practice for a lifetime. Some things are up to you. Some things are not. Epictetus opens his handbook, the Enchiridion, with this distinction. In our power, he says, are things such as our judgments, impulses, desires, aversions, and choices. Not in our power are the body in every respect, property, reputation, office, and the actions of other people. The wording can sound severe at first, especially to a modern ear. After all, your body matters. Your work matters. Your relationships matter. Your reputation may affect your opportunities. The Stoic point is not that these things are meaningless. It is that they are not fully yours to command. You can prepare for an interview, but you cannot force the employer to choose you. You can speak honestly to a friend, but you cannot force them to understand. You can care for your health, but you cannot guarantee that you will never become ill. You can work diligently, but markets, timing, luck, and other people may still alter the result. The suffering often begins when we demand ownership over what can only ever be influenced. This is not a call to stop trying. It is a call to stop attaching your peace to guarantees life never offered. The Stoic does not say, the outcome does not matter, so I will do nothing. The Stoic says, the outcome matters, so I will meet it with the best judgment and effort I can. but my character will not be held hostage by what I cannot control. There is a profound difference between caring and clinging. You can care deeply about a relationship without making another person's behavior the measure of your worth. You can care about your career without allowing one rejection to become a verdict on your future. You can care about an election, a diagnosis, a family conflict, or a difficult decision without surrendering your mind to panic. This is why Stoicism is not passive. It is a philosophy of disciplined action. Suppose you are waiting to hear whether you got a job you wanted badly. The mind tends to move in circles. You replay the interview. You scan your inbox. You imagine being relieved, then humiliated. You tell yourself that if the answer is no, everything will become harder. A Stoic approach does not require you to pretend you do not want the job. Wanting it is natural, but it asks you to separate the parts of the situation. Your preparation was yours. Your honesty was yours. Your conduct in the interview was yours. The hiring decision is not. While you wait, you still possess the ability to continue applying, learn from the experience, care for your responsibilities, and speak to yourself with clarity rather than contempt. You may still feel anxious. Stoicism does not promise the instant disappearance of emotion. It teaches you not to feed emotion with false conclusions. That distinction is essential. The Stoics did not believe that a wise person feels nothing. They recognized what they called first movements, the immediate stir of fear, sadness, shock, or pain that can arise before deliberate thought has fully entered. A loud crash may make you jump. Bad news may tighten your chest. Seeing someone you love suffer may break your heart. These reactions are human. The work begins after them. Do you add the judgment that this feeling is unbearable? Do you decide that because you are afraid danger has already defeated you? Do you turn grief into a belief that life has become meaningless? Or do you pause, acknowledge what has happened, and ask what remains yours to do? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That sentence is often quoted because it captures the Stoic spirit so clearly, but it should not be heard as a command to retreat into your head. Your mind is where you recover your ability to respond. It is where you distinguish fact from interpretation, impulse from principle, fear from useful caution. If someone speaks sharply to you at work, the fact may be simple. They used a dismissive tone in a meeting. Almost immediately, interpretation arrives. They do not respect me. Everyone thinks I am incompetent. I need to strike back. I will never be valued here. Perhaps some of those thoughts are true. Perhaps none are. The Stoic discipline is to avoid treating the first story as a final judgment. Epictetus advised his students to say to a troubling appearance, in effect, "You are an appearance, and not necessarily what you appear to be." This is not denial. It is a pause between what happens and the meaning you assign to it. In that pause, freedom becomes possible. You might decide the criticism contains something useful. You might ask for clarification. You might set a boundary if the behavior is disrespectful. You might document a pattern and take formal action. Or you might recognize that the other person is having a difficult day and refuse to make their mood your identity. Each response is different. What makes them Stoic is not silence. It is the refusal to let anger choose for you. Anger is one of the places where Stoicism is most relevant and most misrepresented. Many people assume a Stoic person should quietly endure mistreatment, but the Stoics did not teach that injustice should be ignored. Justice was one of their central virtues. A person who sees wrongdoing and does nothing simply because action feels uncomfortable is not necessarily calm. They may be avoiding responsibility. The question is how to act without allowing rage to become your ruler. Seneca wrote extensively about anger, describing it as a kind of temporary madness when it is allowed to take command. He did not mean that every experience of anger is evil, or that every injustice should be met with a smile. He meant that anger easily narrows perception. It makes revenge look like justice, humiliation look like strength, and impulsive speech look like courage. Think of an argument with someone close to you. You feel wounded, so you search for the most precise thing you can say to wound them back. In the moment, it may feel powerful. Later, you realize you were not defending what mattered. You were trying to make pain travel outward. A Stoic response might still be firm. It may say, "You cannot speak to me that way." It may end a conversation. It may leave a destructive relationship. It may confront dishonesty directly. But it does not confuse loss of control with honesty. It does not give another person the power to make you betray your own standards. This is one reason Stoicism centers virtue. The ancient Stoics believed that the only thing truly good in itself is virtue, excellent character expressed through wise and moral action. They named 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Wisdom means seeing clearly, especially when appearances are deceptive. Justice means treating others fairly and recognizing your duties to them. Courage means facing pain, risk, and difficulty when a good reason requires it. Temperance means governing appetite, ego, and impulse rather than being governed by them. These virtues were not separate compartments. They were meant to shape the whole person. If you receive a public insult, courage without wisdom can become recklessness. Temperance without justice can become timid self-protection. Wisdom without courage can remain an elegant idea that never enters real life. Stoicism asks, what would a good person do here, given the facts, the obligations, and the limits of the situation? That question is more demanding than asking what feels good, what looks impressive, or what gives you immediate relief. The Stoics made another distinction that often confuses beginners. They said that health, wealth, comfort, social status, and even many external outcomes are not the highest good. They called them indifference. This does not mean they were indifferent in the ordinary sense. A Stoic would generally prefer health to illness, friendship to isolation, and security to poverty. These were called preferred indifference because they are naturally worth choosing when doing so does not require sacrificing virtue. The point was to put them in the right place. Money can be useful, but if you lie, exploit, or abandon your principles to obtain it, it has become too expensive. Reputation can help you do good work, but if you become unable to speak honestly because you fear disapproval, reputation has begun to own you. Comfort can restore you, but if you cannot tolerate inconvenience, discomfort has made you fragile. A person may possess many external advantages and still live in constant fear of losing them. Another may have very little and still retain dignity, courage, and peace. Stoicism does not romanticize hardship. It simply refuses to call a person ruined because fortune has taken something external away. Epictetus embodied this better than most. Born into slavery, he lived with conditions few people would choose. Later, as a teacher, he emphasized that even when circumstances narrow, the capacity for judgment and moral choice remains. That claim should never be used carelessly against people who are suffering. It does not erase the reality of oppression, poverty, illness, or trauma. Stoicism is not a way of telling the wounded that their circumstances are only in their heads. It is a way of preserving the part of a person that hardship should not be allowed to destroy. When you cannot change the whole situation, you can still ask, what is the next honorable action? This is not a small question. Sometimes it means asking for help. Sometimes it means leaving. Sometimes it means enduring a period you did not choose while protecting your mind from bitterness. Sometimes it means admitting that you are not strong enough alone and allowing others to stand beside you. Stoicism values human connection more deeply than its stereotype suggests. The Stoics believed human beings are social by nature. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that he was made for cooperation, like hands, feet, and teeth working together within a body. To live well was not merely to become personally unshakable. It was to fulfill your role among other people with fairness and goodwill. That matters when you deal with difficult people. Stoicism does not ask you to be naive. Some people are manipulative. Some are cruel. Some are careless with the trust they are given. You do not have to keep offering access to your life simply because you want to be compassionate. But you can recognize a difficult truth. Other people act from their own beliefs, fears, habits, wounds, and ambitions. Their behavior may be harmful, and you may need to respond decisively. Yet their failure of character does not require you to surrender yours. Marcus Aurelius began one of his most famous reflections by preparing himself to meet people who were meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and difficult. This was not cynicism. It was preparation. If you expect every person to be reasonable, considerate, and emotionally mature, you will be shocked constantly. If you recognize that flawed people will often behave badly, you can meet them with less surprise and more skill. Preparation is one of Stoicism's quiet strengths. It does not wait for a crisis to begin thinking. It rehearses reality in advance. Seneca encouraged a practice often called premeditation of adversity. He suggested reflecting occasionally on the possibility of loss, inconvenience, illness, and reversal. Taken badly, this can sound gloomy. Taken rightly, it is a way of becoming grateful and less easily shattered. You might briefly consider that the plans you are making could change. The person you love is mortal. The position you hold may not last forever. Your health is precious precisely because it is not guaranteed. The goal is not to live in dread. It is to stop living under the illusion that the things you value are permanent possessions. When you remember their fragility, you often meet them with more attention. You listen more carefully at dinner. You stop postponing the apology you know you owe. You notice the ordinary morning when your body works, and the people you care about are still within reach. You become less entitled to comfort and more capable of meeting discomfort when it arrives. This is not toxic positivity. Stoicism does not tell you that every painful event is secretly wonderful. Some things are tragic. Some losses remain losses. A child's illness, the death of a loved one, betrayal by someone trusted, or the destruction caused by violence cannot be reduced to a cheerful lesson. The Stoic task is more honest and more difficult. It asks whether pain must also become corruption of the soul. Must grief make you cruel? Must betrayal make you incapable of trusting anyone? Must failure make you dishonest about your worth? Must fear prevent you from doing what you know is right? The answer may not come quickly. Stoicism is not a demand to recover on schedule. It is a discipline of returning again and again to what is true and what is yours to govern. Marcus Aurelius wrote much of what we now know as meditations, not as a book for public applause, but as private reminders. He was not presenting himself as a finished wise man. He was correcting himself. He reminded himself not to be consumed by praise, not to resent difficult people, not to waste the present in anxiety about the future, and not to forget death. The Stoic practice of remembering death is another idea that can be misunderstood. It is not an obsession with darkness. It is a refusal to live as if time were unlimited. When death is kept at the edge of awareness, trivial resentments become easier to see for what they are. You may still care about a disagreement, but perhaps not enough to let it poison a year of your life. You may still pursue success, but not at the cost of never being present for the life you already have. A deadline becomes less terrifying when you remember that your value is not equal to your performance. An awkward conversation becomes easier when you remember that courage is often needed only for a few minutes. A long-held grudge begins to look strange when you see how much life it has already consumed. Stoicism brings your attention back to the present, not because the future does not matter, but because the present is where your choices exist. You can plan wisely. You can prepare. You can save money, learn skills, seek medical advice, repair relationships, and make contingencies. But once you have done what reason requires, anxiety does not add control. It only adds suffering. This becomes especially clear when you are comparing yourself with other people. Someone your age seems further ahead. They have the job, the home, the body, the partner, the recognition, the confidence you think you should have by now. You scroll through fragments of their life and turn them into an argument against your own. The comparison may begin as inspiration, but often it becomes self-contempt. The Stoic asks, what is actually yours here? Their achievement is not yours to possess or resent. Their appearance, income, visibility, and approval are all outside your command. But the quality of your own attention is yours. Your effort is yours. Your honesty about where you are is yours. Your ability to choose the next worthwhile action is yours. This is not a retreat from ambition. It is a cleansing of ambition. Instead of asking, how do I look beside them? You ask, what kind of person am I becoming through my choices? Instead of making success a performance for strangers, you make it a practice of excellence in the work directly before you. A musician can practice well without controlling whether the audience applauds. A writer can produce honest work without controlling whether it becomes popular. A parent can show patience and care without controlling every outcome in a child's life. A student can study seriously without controlling every exam question. The result still matters, but your deepest measure becomes the quality of your participation, not the fantasy of total control. This is where Stoicism becomes a source of discipline. Motivation is unreliable. It rises when a new goal is exciting, then fades when the work becomes repetitive, inconvenient, or slow. If you wait to feel inspired, much of what matters will remain unfinished. The Stoics would ask you to build your life around values stronger than mood. Perhaps you want to exercise, but the morning is cold and you slept poorly. A Stoic does not need to turn this into a dramatic battle. You do not need to hate yourself for lacking enthusiasm. You simply notice the impression. I do not feel like it, therefore I should not do it. Then you examine it. Is that judgment true? Is the action reasonable? What would self-respect look like in the next 10 minutes? Sometimes wisdom says rest. A disciplined life is not a machine that ignores illness, exhaustion, or genuine limits. But often, the obstacle is not incapacity. It is the desire for comfort in the moment. Temperance means being able to choose a long-term good over a short-term impulse without making the choice a performance. The same is true with distraction. You sit down to do work that matters, and your hand reaches automatically for the phone. There is no villain in this scene. There is simply a trained impulse. Stoicism begins by making that impulse visible. You are not forced to obey every desire merely because it appears. The ancient Stoics often described freedom differently from how we do. Modern freedom is frequently imagined as having more options, more comfort, more money, fewer restraints. Those things can be valuable, but a person with endless options can still be unfree if they cannot resist appetite, approval, anger, or fear. If a single insult can control your mood for 3 days, you are not free. If praise can make you abandon your principles, you are not free. If you cannot bear being alone with your thoughts without immediately reaching for stimulation, you are not fully free. If you know what you should do but cannot bring yourself to do it because discomfort feels intolerable, your life is being governed from outside the center of your reason. Stoicism tries to restore that center. It does so through practice, not merely agreement. You can understand the dichotomy of control intellectually and still panic when your plans fail. You can admire Marcus Aurelius and still become cruel in traffic. Philosophy becomes useful only when it is recalled at the moment it is needed. One practice is to separate events from judgments in plain language. When something disturbs you, describe the event with as little drama as possible. My colleague did not reply to my message. I received criticism. The flight was canceled. My partner seems distant. Then notice the story your mind adds. They are ignoring me. I am failing. The whole trip is ruined. I am about to be abandoned. You do not have to shame yourself for the story. Simply recognize that it is a story, not yet a fact. Then ask what belongs to you. Perhaps it is to send one clear follow-up message. Perhaps it is to prepare for a difficult conversation. Perhaps it is to find another route, accept the delay, and protect your energy. Perhaps it is to do nothing until you have more information. The Stoic response is often less dramatic than the first impulse, but more effective. Another practice is a brief evening review. Seneca described examining his day, asking what he had done well, where he had acted poorly, and what could be improved. The purpose is not self-punishment. It is moral training. At the end of the day, you might ask, where did I give my peace away unnecessarily? Where did I act with courage? Where was I ruled by vanity, anger, avoidance, or appetite? What is one situation I can meet better tomorrow? This creates a relationship with yourself based on truth, rather than either indulgence or harshness. You become a student of your own character. Morning reflection can be equally useful. Before the day begins, remind yourself that you will meet delays, disappointments, misunderstandings, temptation, and people whose behavior you cannot control. Then choose one quality to practice: patience, honesty, courage, restraint, attention. This is not magical protection against difficulty. It is preparation against being surprised by the basic conditions of being alive. There is also value in voluntary discomfort, practiced carefully and sensibly. Musonius Rufus, a Stoic teacher and the teacher of Epictetus, emphasized training through simple living and the willingness to bear discomfort. The aim was not suffering for its own sake. It was to discover that comfort is not a requirement for dignity. Take a walk without filling every moment with audio. Eat a simple meal sometimes. Put the phone away for an evening. Choose the harder, honest conversation rather than the easier avoidance. Do a task without needing applause. These small practices teach the mind that discomfort is survivable. And once you know that many fears lose their authority, Stoicism also changes how you understand failure. Most people do not merely dislike failure, they make it personal. A rejected proposal becomes proof that they are inadequate. A business that closes becomes proof that they were foolish to try. An embarrassing mistake becomes a permanent identity. The Stoic sees failure as an event to be evaluated, not an identity to be worn. If you acted carelessly, admit it. If you need to learn, learn. If someone was harmed, repair what you can. But do not turn a single outcome into a total definition of yourself. Character is revealed not by never falling short, but by what you do after you see the truth. There is humility in this. Stoicism does not permit you to hide behind excuses. You cannot say, "It was outside my control," when your own laziness, dishonesty, or refusal to prepare played a central role. The discipline of control is not designed to protect the ego. It is designed to clarify responsibility. When something goes wrong, ask two questions. What was outside my power? And what was mine? Perhaps the market changed. That was not yours. Perhaps you ignored warning signs. That was yours. Perhaps another person acted unfairly. That was not yours. Perhaps you responded with spite and made the situation worse. That was yours. This clear division is painful at times, but it is liberating. It allows you to stop carrying false guilt while accepting real responsibility. And real responsibility is where growth becomes possible. There will be circumstances where no response feels adequate. You may lose someone you love. You may receive a diagnosis. You may watch a dream end despite your effort and sincerity. In these moments, Stoicism should not be used like a slogan thrown at the heart. No philosophy can remove the cost of loving, trying, and being vulnerable. But Stoicism can offer a kind of companionship, It can remind you that pain does not mean you have failed at life. It can remind you that you are allowed to grieve without declaring yourself broken. It can remind you that even in a season you would never have chosen, your conduct still matters. You can be gentle. You can be brave. You can ask for help. You can refuse to become smaller than the suffering that has entered your life. The Stoic ideal is sometimes called tranquility, but that word should not be confused with permanent calm. A tranquil person may still weep. They may still face conflict. They may still feel apprehension before a difficult decision. Their steadiness comes from knowing where to place their deepest commitment, not in applause, not in possessions, not in perfect outcomes, not in the impossible task of controlling everyone and everything around them. Their commitment is to the use of their own mind, the integrity of their choices, and the responsibilities they can meet today. That is why Stoicism remains so useful. It does not require you to escape ordinary life. It meets you in the meeting where someone doubts you, in the hospital waiting room, in the unanswered message, in the temptation to retaliate, in the morning when you do not feel ready, and in the quiet moment after a plan has fallen apart. It gives you a way to say, "This is difficult. I may not like it. I may not understand it. But I will not add confusion where clarity is possible. I will not add cruelty where courage is required. I will not abandon my character simply because circumstances have become painful." This is not perfection. No Stoic philosopher was perfectly composed, and neither will you be. Marcus Aurelius had to remind himself constantly, because he too was vulnerable to impatience, ego, fatigue, and fear. The goal is not to become unreachable by life. The goal is to become less easily carried away from yourself. When the message arrives, when the room changes, when your mind begins racing toward catastrophe, you can begin with one small act of philosophy. Name what happened. Separate it from the story. Ask what is within your power. Then do the next thing with wisdom, justice, courage, and restraint. That is enough to begin. If this way of meeting life speaks to you, subscribe to Stoic Against Chaos. But before you move on with your day, choose one situation that has been disturbing your peace. Write down the fact of it in a single sentence. Then write down the next honorable action that belongs to you. The storm may not obey you. Your character still can.